What is going on, FA Nation? John Pembe here with Howard Bender. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NFL DFS show. It is NFL Week 5. Howard, bye weeks are here. This is one of the smallest main slates we've had. Obviously, so far this season, probably one of the smaller ones we'll have of the year. Just 10 games on the DraftKings main slate here this week, which means smaller player pools, higher concentration on chalky plays. I don't even really love a lot of the matchups, honestly, on the board. I did the quarterback coach this week, and I was like, there's a couple of spots, but I didn't really love all of the options that we have here, which makes me think that a lot of, again, chalk is going to be, or ownership rather, is going to be on some of the similar plays here this week. So you've done the watch list. You're prepping for the playbook, man. How are you feeling about stuff?
I kind of have a very similar feeling about this entire slate. There weren't a lot of matchups that really jumped out at me. There are a couple of games that I really like that I'm definitely going to want to be invested in. Vegas Raiders against the Indianapolis Colts. I want action in that one. Miami against Carolina. I think that's a game that has some sneaky potential. I think a lot of people are going to go head towards the Justin Fields Jet stack against the Dallas Cowboys, maybe even vice versa. But I'll just say it, man. Putting all your hopes and dreams in on the Jets, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, we can just jump into the quarterback spot. I think Jared Goff's like your easy cash game play this week. When I wrote him up in the quarterback coach, he was the first quarterback I wrote up, and I said, might be the first time in history that Jared Goff's been the first quarterback that I've written up in the quarterback coach. Because one, he's priced up, he's $6,500. Usually he's kind of in that mid-range tier. The Bengals defense has just been terrible, but they're really bad against both the run and the pass. So Goff could go out there and get some yards, but just watch the running back score 4 total touchdowns. Or as we've seen, he's had a 5 touchdown game. He had a multi-touchdown game last week against Cleveland. He could be fine, but he's had 3 games of less than 15 fantasy points. He had 1 game of 37. So we're really taking a risk here. I think when it comes to Jared Goff, you're just buying in on the matchup. So again, for me, I think cash games, ownership's going to be there for him, so he makes some sense. But for tournaments, I don't know. I'm a little iffy on him.
Yeah, because that's the thing. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and you're going to run. Now, I guess you could say that, they could have done that against Chicago also, and he threw 5 touchdowns in that game. But there is still that piece of me that wonders, because it's Jared Goff on the road, right? It's not Jared Goff at home. Jared Goff at home threw 5 touchdowns against the Bears. Jared Goff on the road in Cincinnati. Granted, it's a favorable matchup. I'm actually, I'm a little hesitant about that. I do kind of feel like that's the concern. I actually think that Justin Fields is probably going to be your cash game quarterback this week because of the rushing upside, because of what you've seen from him. What you just saw from him against Miami, and we all know that Dallas's defense is bad. Yeah. So I kind of feel like the ownership will probably shift over there. I'm not really looking at Jared Goff in tournaments. I'd probably give him a look in cash, depending on how everything reads out. I think, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, I think these guys are also good potential cash game plays, as well as those that flash that GPP upside. The thing about Herbert, they're coming off of the loss against the Giants. I don't know how many people are going to actually be on them right now. I think a lot of people are very down on what we've seen from Ladd McConkey. And I think that stands out like a turd in a punch bowl. But if you look at the Washington defense and you look at the way everything's kind of been centered around them, Washington's giving up a lot of underneath work across the middle of the field. And that's where Allen and McConkey feast, right? Now, I don't know if you're going to want to stack it and who you're going to pair it up with. And do you get Quentin Johnston in there as well? Because he's that, the deeper threat, and he seems to be, the most reliable aspect there. I wouldn't mind using a naked Justin Herbert in a cash game play.
Listen, I'm good with Herbert again. He's someone that I wrote up. While Ladd McConkey is sort of taking the back seat, Quentin Johnson hasn't, Keenan Allen hasn't, right? So, it's not like he's not throwing the football. Last week obviously was a tougher week on the road. I don't think many expected that one, but for the most part, he's been pretty good. The rushing upside in a couple of those games has been pretty surprising out of Herbert as well. And I'm kind of bullish. If you watch the betting show, I'm bullish on the Chargers this week anyway. So you can go check that out for those plays. But I like Herbert. I also like Kyler Murray this week. Tennessee's defense has not been very good.
Nope.
And now there's no Trey Benson, no James Conner. You got Michael Carter and Amari DiMarcado as the two running backs. I don't see those guys getting 25 carries combined in this game. So I think you're going to see a lot of the weight put on Kyler Murray and having to throw the football. And when you ask Kyler Murray to drop back, that also gives him opportunities to run the football. Like I think you're going to see a big Kyler Murray game here. We've kind of hammered Marvin Harrison Jr. For his inconsistencies. He looked awful in the first half of that game last week against Seattle. Looked really good in the second half of that game. Maybe the coaches got to him, was like, hey man, like, what are you doing? You caused an interception. You stopped on another route. You flat out dropped another pass. Like either get your head in the game or get on the bench, and all of a sudden second half, he's making plays. He's catching touchdowns. They have Trey McBride. Greg Dortch was making plays. I think you might have had the Dortch yards or somebody, maybe it was Iggy. I think Iggy might've had the Dortch yards on the Thursday night show. So like, I think Kyler Murray against Tennessee at home this week is a really nice play at $5,900.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And I'm actually very bullish on Marvin Harrison Jr. He's in the DFS watch list as well. I would love to know what the coaches did say to him at halftime. Something like, who are you, Adonai Mitchell?
I mean, Adonai at least caught the football. He just dropped the football. He wasn't even doing that last week. So Kyler at 59 to me, I think is interesting. You've commented people going Indy in the Las Vegas game. You get Indiana Jones here.
No. You have Daniel Jones here. I do not use that nickname.
No, you're not buying the Indiana, no?
Dude, no. Listen, when he first came to New York, right? And we saw him for the first week or two, he was Danny Dimes. Hey, Danny Dimes, right? He's dropping dimes. He's looking good. I love him. I love him. And then all of a sudden, he showed, I guess some of his true colors.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Danny Dimes became sarcastic and mean. And I don't want to do that to the name of Indiana Jones. It's one of my favorite movies. Harrison Ford is a baller. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to equate that, because if you look at Daniel Jones's last two games, John, were they anything special?
Certainly weren't.
I think everybody's hitting for the boulder at this point.
Completion percentage wise, he was good, right? But they the points, the touchdowns, just one touchdown, -1 rushing on one attempt. I mean, that's, I almost blame the team for that. Like Daniel Jones needs to be moving the football with his legs a little bit here and trying to make some plays. This is a long way of saying I actually think Jonathan Taylor is my favorite play in this game and not going the quarterback. Michael Pittman was injured in practice this week with a hamstring. They did say he is going to play, but that has me a little concerned as well. I guess technically we owe Daniel Jones a little bit because Adonai Mitchell should have gotten him a second touchdown. But still, I'm not as high on Jones this week. I'd rather go Jonathan Taylor. Fields we've touched on, elite tournament upside there.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Dart. I know you are not a fan necessarily, or you want to pump the brakes on Jackson Dart, I believe was what your hot takes video was all about. He still ran the ball 10 times for 54 yards and a touchdown. So in DFS, if he's going to run the ball 10 times, I don't really care that he had 13 passes for 111 yards. If he's going to run like that, there's going to be value for him.
Right. If he's going to run like that, there's definitely value to be had. I don't love this matchup for him. But again, I mean, it's a guy who, when everybody is in on him, you have to start, you have to take a look back and see, really, are we proper in investing him? And I think that after seeing what he did last week and then beating the Chargers, there's so much hype on him right now. And now he's facing the Saints, and the Saints are terrible, and they're the worst team in the world. And even though he's lost Malik Neighbors, he still has weapons. I think the Jackson Dart play might be it feels a little trappy to me. Feels a little trappy. I do love his mom though, right? They keep paying to his mom. She comes from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and right on for her.
I can't bring myself to play Stroud on the road, but obviously Baltimore's defense has been atrocious.
I don't mind taking a shot on Stroud in a tournament setting.
Yeah. I think just playing a one-off Nico Collins or a Christian Kirk dart throw makes more sense there. Just because going back to his rookie year, he just hasn't played good on the road. So, outdoor setting here for Stroud, I have a little bit of concerns. Darnold's kind of interesting because, again, Tampa Bay's got a good run defense. They did shut down A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith last week too, Tampa Bay, but now they're on the road. I think Darnold's probably fine. Had 2 touchdown passes in back-to-back games until last week. Still had 16 fantasy points. I don't mind Darnold at home here against Tampa Bay.
No, consistent. He's a fine producer. Cash game play, sure. Not somebody I want in tournaments, though. I don't see him really lighting it up when you've got such a run-heavy scheme.
Got another 4K starter this week. Do you look at Cooper Rush at all?
No, because you bypassed the guy who I want. I will pay the extra $700 and use Bryce Young.
Okay.
I will definitely use the extra money here, and I will use Bryce Young. I think he's in a great spot right now. Miami's pass defense is terrible. Xavier Howard was like a surprise. I'm retiring because they basically went over to him in the clubhouse and they were like, dude, you can either retire and save face or we're going to cut you. But you're never stepping out on the field to get, for us ever again because he's that bad. They're not going to get that much better. It's not so much like an addition by subtraction. So I think when you're looking at, yes, Rico Dowdle will get will get the primary work over here, but I don't think Rico Dowdle is going to be heavily used in passing situations and stuff. And I think that when you've got Ted McMillan, Tommy Tremble, I believe Xavier Legette is going to be back. Bryson Tremaine looks okay. Thankfully, David Moore is gone. Maybe Jatavian Sanders comes back. I think there's enough weaponry here for Bryce Young to put on a show like he did against Arizona in week 2.
Yeah, no, that's the upside certainly there. We like the offense. We thought we were going to see more out of this offense early on. Obviously, they've had some struggles, but this defense has certainly been a struggle this year. Running backs. Again, I mentioned I like Jonathan Taylor a lot at 8K. Obviously the Detroit running backs are all going to be in play here. Achane is a guy that, again, go check out the betting show. I got a prop on him this week that I like. So, and then Derrick Henry, if this was baseball, we talk BVP. Derrick Henry has multiple 200-yard rushing games against Houston here when he was a member of the Titans. How are you feeling about these top running backs this week?
I mean, I'm fine. Jonathan Taylor, I'll lock him down. I'll pay the freight and be able to do that. I'll do the same thing with Jahmyr Gibbs as well. I like your Achane call. But Barkley against Denver is not terrible, but it's obviously not my favorite. I'd pay the extra $200 for Jahmyr Gibbs going up against Cincinnati. Derrick Henry, listen, it's a great spot for him if you believe that Houston's defense is more about the pass rush than it is really about defending the run. You're also going to look at a team that's probably going to stack the box pretty significantly against Derrick Henry this week, simply because it's Cooper Rush.
Sure.
And he's bad.
He's not great. Volume could be there for Henry, but I definitely think the defense for Houston's going to be making him beat him. So that's fine. Genty and Marion Hampton, 2 rookies broke out last week. Do you got a lean on which one's going to do the same this week?
I actually like Hampton in this one here. I think if Michael Pittman is playable for Indianapolis, maybe Genty, I'm not going to say he's going to get game flowed out, but I could definitely see Indianapolis, kind of going up here on the Raiders. I think he's fine, but I prefer Hampton at home in a game where I'm comfortable with the rest of what the Chargers are doing against the Washington team that really not good, right? Marcus Lattimore might as well change his name. Shout out to my boy Greg Martinez. Marcus Lattimore should just change his last name to St. Just because he's been horrendous in coverage. So I think I like Omari and Hampton here as well. I like Kenneth Walker in a tournament setting.
Okay.
Because nobody wants to play a guy running up against Vita Vea and those guys, but Walker tends to go to the outside work. So I'd look in for tournament play only.
Yeah, I don't mind Javonte Williams either on the other side. I mean, there's a lot of volume going his way. The Jets' run defense has been pretty bad. He's only $6,200. Cam Scatabo, 25 for 79. Obviously, volume was king there. And if they're just going to run the football like this, Dart, Scatabo, just run the football. I think there's some value here at 6K.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think there's value for Scatabo here for sure. I think a lot of people are going to pay down for Alvin Kamara going up against the Giants. The Giants don't have a great run defense, but for the same token, has Kamara looked good at all this
Now,
year?
not only that, they used Kendrick Miller a lot last week as well.
Yeah,
I think
some
Brees
of
Hall
them.
is probably chalky.
I think he is too, but we talk good chalk and bad chalk. As much as I love Brees Hall and what he's capable of doing against this Dallas run defense, how many times do I have to sit and look at Isaiah Davis? I went nuts. I was out of my mind. I think I was on the air on Monday night. Out of my mind when they handed it to Braylon Allen at the goal line,
Yeah.
and then that dipshit fumbled like that. It was like incensing me. And then what do I see later on? He's out with an injury, but yet they've got Isaiah Davis on the freaking field here. I don't understand what the Jets are doing. It makes no sense to me. If Tanner Engstrand thinks that he's got Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, he is sorely mistaken. He's got Brees Hall and a bunch of dog crap. So he needs to start showing me that he's going to give Brees Hall the rock more than he is doing right now for me to fully buy in. The price tag at 56 is definitely low and worth exploring here. But just understand that you could be watching a guy do great stuff between the 20s, and then they stupidly hand the ball to Isaiah Davis at the goal line.
Sure. Buying or selling Woody Marks?
I'm buying Woody Marks. I'm buying J.K. Dobbins, too, against Philadelphia. I think both of these guys are in very good spots right now. Philly's giving up like the 7th or 8th most rushing yards per game, so I don't want to ignore Dobbins. Woody Marks here. I mean, again, Nick Chubb's going to get some play. The Ravens need to show some serious life if they're going to want to, if we're going to see a heavy workload there for Woody Marks, because you need the back and forth here. They're not just, Houston's not just going to, run the ball with Woody Marks constantly, especially if you've got a guy like Nick Chubb that you can throw to the wolves.
Sure. Let's see. Any other value plays that you play?
I love sneaking in Montgomery against the Bengals in a tournament. I don't think anybody's going to be on him after last week.
No, that's a great call. I mean, 12 for 152 and a 151 and 2 touchdowns shows what his ceiling is. Double-digit carries 3 of the first 4 games. I'm with you. I think Monty at 52 feels like a great play.
Yeah.
How about the Arizona backs?
Okay, so there we go. So let's just hit Arizona and Tampa Bay all in one fell swoop.
Yeah,
because these are the guys that everybody wants.
Where is Tucker?
Tucker's probably super, super cheap because these kids, I would search for him. He's probably
4K, mid-price running back.
Tournament, if you're going to chase some touchdowns, I might give him a look because that they give the ball to Tucker at the goal line. But when it comes to DFS, whatever, I don't want any part of Rachaad White against Seattle. I'm very minimally interested in Tucker against Seattle. And then when you're talking about Michael Carter versus Amari DiMercado, I just don't love this game or this matchup for them. I think that, this is just not a situation. Carter was signed on Monday. So I don't want to be involved in the Arizona backfield. I just don't want to be involved in it for DFS purposes. In season long, I've told everybody if it's PPR, then use DiMercado. And he's got the extra experience. Use him in half point as well. Carter's going to be a between the tackles kind of a guy. Even though it's a smash matchup, I think that these guys split the workload fairly evenly. And so I don't know who's going to be, more active at the goal line. I think if they're on the 2, they give it to Carter. But I think if they're on the 6, maybe they throw it to DiMercado. So I'm not really.
They asked Jonathan Gannon about the backfield, and he says they each have a role in this offense.
Yeah. So I'm going to avoid those 2 teams in their backfields in DFS. In season long, you have to do what you have to do.
What about Kendre?
I
don't know. 11 for 65 last week. He looked better than Alvin Kamara.
Yes, he did. But you're going to use him this week, and then all of a sudden his hamstring's going to pop on him because that's what Kendre Miller does.
Where were you for the Justice Hill game?
It doesn't matter where I was. Where are you on the Rico Dowdle game?
Yeah, that's fair. Where is Rico?
He's 43. Right there, baby. He's right there.
Well, again, if you go to the betting show, I have a play on Rico Dowdle here this week. So, Actually, is that in the betting show? It might just be my Prize Pick slip. You can go find that on Twitter. I got a Rico Dowdle play somewhere in the content. It's on the bet tracker. I know that. Go to the expert bet picks.
I am in. I woke up early this morning. For those of you who don't know me, I live in Juneau, Alaska. I wake up at like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to make sure that I'm there with all the news. The news broke that Chuba Hubbard was officially out. I hit the Fantasy Alarm Discord, told everybody, add Rico Dowdle. I came to my computer. I recorded a video for everybody else out there. Add Rico Dowdle. Dave Canales likes using one running back. You've seen it with Chuba Hubbard. And now all of a sudden, with Chuba out, it's going to pivot to Rico Dowdle against the Miami defense that's allowed the third most rushing yards per game already this season. All right, that continually that got ripped up by Jonathan Taylor, ripped up by Breece Hall. Who else shredded them? Oh, James Cook destroyed them. And then they even gave up almost 100 yards on the ground to Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson. They can't stop the run. Dowdle's going to see the volume replacing Nick Chubb. Get him into your lineups. 4,300 on DraftKings. Criminal. I mean, it's not criminal because he wasn't expected to be in this role right now. This is going to be your free square in DFS for cash games. And it's definitely a play that I'm also going to leave in tournament play as well.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with it. We've seen him be a productive running back. Now he's just going to get all the carries in that offense this week. So it works. Wide receivers. I'm on Ross St. Brown is your top price guy. No guys over 8K this week at the wide receiver position. Jamar Chase and his struggles at $7,800. JSN, your other 7K wide receiver. Looking to play any of them, one of them, two of them? How are you feeling?
I mean, Amon-Ra. I mean, how do you turn away from Amon-Ra? I mean, that guy has just been ridiculously good, ridiculously sound. And I mean, listen, if you're talking about a guy who, forget about week one, talking about a guy whose floor is 20 points, come on. Against Cincinnati? Yes, I like that. I will do that. I actually think I built a lineup where I ended up with I used a Panthers, basically stacking that Panthers-Miami game a little bit. And then I had more money left over that I had Amon-Ra and Jamar Chase going opposite each other. I don't think that's a move I'm going to do this weekend, but I'm very bullish on Amon-Ra, St. Brown in this matchup here. So I'll use him. I'll use JSN.
Okay.
Egbuka, you can't ignore, but I think I'd rather go with like Nico Collins for, $100 less.
Yeah, Nico Collins slowly starting to kind of break out a little bit. The player we expected him to be. Again, historically bad numbers for Stroud on the road, but this is an elite matchup. Baltimore is just giving up points to everybody this year. So Nico's pretty good. You think Pickens maybe a little bit this week, don't you?
No, I definitely don't think Pickens. I think Pickens, if you guys check out the betting show. Oh, not the betting show. You got to check the bet tracker. Yeah. That's right. I didn't use it on the betting show. It was like my secret wide receiver prop that I actually love. Go check Underdog Fantasy now because they have it at 73.5 receiving yards, right? And I took the under on that. I think all the basic books have it at like 69.5. I'm taking the under on that. He is going to see a ton of Sauce Gardner. I do not expect like Gardner to be, to be on anybody else, not Kevontae Turpin, not Jalen Tolbert. I think Sauce will be shadowing George Pickens. He's the best receiver they have right now. And with no CeeDee Lamb, I think that that's the move that needs to happen. So I'm out on Pickens this week. I'm in on Jalen Tolbert, though.
All right. Tolbert, though, we'll get down there for some value. How about Garrett Wilson, the other side of that matchup at $6,100 this week?
Yes. I mean, again, that's a terrible secondary, right? Trevon Diggs getting toasted. Mm-hmm. Deron Bland staying in the slot now. Come on.
Sure.
Give me Garrett.
I like Garrett Wilson a lot as well at that price point. Where else do we go in this range?
I'll always give Cortland Sutton a little play there. I love Cortland Sutton. I think he's fine. T. Higgins, that's one that I gave out on the betting show, a prop that I gave out. I don't love this matchup for Cincinnati overall, but I do like T. Higgins going opposite Terrion Arnold, the cornerback for Detroit. You're going to see a lot of DJ Reed on Jamar Chase. I think Terrion Arnold going to try to hang with T. Higgins, and that don't work.
Yeah, I do like QJ, $5,700.
Yep.
Cat McMillan, $5,700. You've kind of talked about liking Carolina this week in that matchup. You're not going Quentin. Keenan Allen's in this range. Jacoby Myers is down here, a guy that's going to get a lot of volume. And then we highlighted our like for Marvin Harrison Jr. He's only $5,400.
I love that. I'll definitely go in on that and then drop it a couple $100 too. I'll actually go and invest in Chris Olave this week.
Okay.
I think Olave, look at the target share that he's gotten here, right? Yeah. Double-digit targets, except for this one game against Buffalo, right? I'm not too worried about that. I think that against the Giants, I think Radler tries to throw the ball, tries to take over the game. I think Olave is somebody. I also like Shaheed on the other side. I think it's softer coverage for him, but I'll give Olave a look at 52.
Yeah, listen, the volume's key. You and I think, have had quite a few battles on this very show about targets. Targets equal opportunity. If they're going to throw the ball 14 times, he has an opportunity to catch 14 balls. That's fantasy points in point PPR DraftKings here. And he got 10 of them last week. So while 57 points, 57 yards doesn't add up to much, 10 catches do. And he had 15 fantasy points because of it. So I like the Olave call. Pittman's down here at 51. Jameson Williams, super inconsistent. We know the type of play that he is. He's a deep ball guy. 64-yard touchdown in week 2. He gave you 21 fantasy points because of it. If he does that here, he's going to do the same thing. So for an under 5K tournament play, J-Mo popping up for me.
Yeah, definitely. I like that. I think Trey Tucker, while he's not going to ever repeat the 3-touchdown game, I think he's got some good play here against Indianapolis. They are struggling against the opposing wide receiver twos. And I think that he can kind of stretch the field. I said I liked Shaheed here as well. I would kind of be interested in that play there. And then, then I'm kind of like, I'm like, do I want to go with Darius Slayton or, oh, look, Alec Ayamanor, they increased his price tag by $200 this week. I'm sorry, but if this dude's going to see 6 targets per game, all right, Arizona doesn't have the greatest secondary out there.
No.
I'm just gonna keep playing him as long as he continues to be as cheap as he is.
Yeah, I like Ayamanor. I like Christian Kirk, and I do think Slayton deserves a little bit of look, even though again, Dart was only 11 of 20 or 11 of 22 last week. Again, this could be a spot for Kirk at 43 for value. Ayamanor is always just kind of a plug and play for us. Where are you with Malik Washington or Nick Westbrook-Akine here? Well, one of these guys are going to step into the role for Tyreek Hill. They both played 48% of the offensive snaps. They do give some end around carries to Malik Washington, so there's some small rushing upside with him. Do you think there's any value though for DFS purposes?
I think maybe if you're going to throw in, like, if you're looking for a salary saver for tournament play, maybe you can kind of do that. I don't know. And I look at a guy like Malik Washington and I think that, it's very boom or bust. It's very boom or bust. The floor is 0.
Yeah.
Right. And I think even with Tyreek out, the floor is still kind of low for him, working out of the slot. We'll see what happens there. I don't hate it. I think if you're fishing for some under 4K plays here, I think Malik Washington is definitely, worthwhile. So is Dante Thornton, Hunter Renfrow, maybe now that David Moore is out of the picture.
Jalen Tolbert's 3,600.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the play that I'm talking about. Brandon Stevens is the cornerback opposite Sauce Gardner. Stevens is good, but he's a physical big man, right? He's a big corner, and he likes to get physical with the players. He doesn't have the speed that matches Jalen Tolbert. So if Tolbert's working underneath, I think Stevens might have some issues, covering him, and I think that Tolbert has the chance for a long touchdown opposite him. So that's kind of where I'm paying down.
Sure. And there's not really much else here. Xavier Legette's back. If you did like the Carolina match against Miami, they desperately need somebody else to catch football on that team. Jalen Coker is going to have his practice window open next week, so that could be coming fast with him. But Leggett could be something there. That's nothing else though. I don't think that we're
There's
missing.
really nothing else down here.
Yeah. All right. Tight end. McBride's 58. Bowers. I love Ferguson at $4,800. Warren at 47. Laporte against the Cincinnati matchup we target all the time. So spending up a tight end, a lot of good matchups for everybody here.
Yeah, I think Warren is probably the guy who I kind of lean to the most. I love the target share. I know it's not an amazing, at least on paper, it's not an amazing matchup, but I still think that he gets enough work. And if you're going to have Michael Pittman kind of hampered at all, right, Warren is probably going to see some extra work there, right? Like Warren has been the reason that Josh Downs sucks this year.
Yeah, no,
Think about that.
Listen, I had a conversation with a buddy of mine week 1. He was trying to tell me how good Tyler Warren was. And I was like, yeah, but like rookie tight ends, unless you're like special, right? Like most of them, they kind of struggle. Like Bowers coming out of college was considered like the GOAT tight end prospect of all time. Kyle Pitts coming out of prospect before that was kind of considered the GOAT prospect. Laporta had kind of a breakout season by default. I'm like, well, what are we expecting out of Tyler? He's like, dude, Tyler Warren is a really, really good player. Right away, he's coming out here like on pace for 1,000 yards. So kudos to that. Wasn't Coop actually? It was somebody else talking tight ends with me, giving me the insights there. So yeah. Then again, Laporta, as we've talked about, got the matchup against Cincinnati that we've liked to target.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. I like Dalton Schultz's matchup here against Baltimore.
Okay.
They're like it's a cash game play. There's no like big tournament upside here for him. So I do like him because it is a rock solid matchup here. The Baltimore linebackers, right? They're more concerned about rushing the passer than they really are good at falling back into coverage. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Darren Waller is in a great spot here. No Tyreek Hill. We can talk about the comparisons to the workload that Jonnu Smith got last year. The key is that Tyreek Hill is out. It's also good that Carolina ranks in the bottom 5 in DVOA against the tight end, that they're giving up like the 5th or 6th most fantasy points per game to the position. I think Waller is probably going to be a very, very chalky play. I think he's going to be a cash game free square for a lot of people. So in tournaments, I would actually pivot maybe to Chigakonkwo because Arizona struggles against the tight end. They've got some injuries in their secondary that they're still dealing with. And Okonkwo, despite the fact that Cam Ward is on his ass nonstop and he's running for his life and he doesn't get enough pass protection, I could see some good dump offs here. Okonkwo's averaging like 6 targets per game. So I think that's like that, if everybody's going to go cash game on Waller, I think the pivot might be Okonkwo.
Yeah, I mean, I think what stood out to me with Waller was more so like they came in with McDaniel and said he's going to have like a limited set of packages. They want to ease him in, and those like limited packages were all red zone, right? And they got him there, and he caught the touchdown. So like, if you're going to tell me they're going to keep easing him in, but like no matter what, like he's in their red zone, that's huge because he is just a big athletic dude who can get open and make catch anything really thrown to him, as we've seen when healthy over the course of his career. Hunter Henry just torched this team last week as well for Carolina. Yes, the Josh McDaniels offense is set up to allow for slot wide receivers and tight ends to just feast. And that's what we saw with Stephon Diggs with 100 yards and Hunter Henry had the game that he had. But I really like Waller. I would use him in both. I don't think needing necessarily to pivot. I know in large field tournaments, you want to change yourself and be a little bit different in that aspect. But to me, just the usage that he got, I'd be worried in tournaments fading a chalk play like that. If the ownership actually ends up going towards him, we'll see what that looks like come Sunday, because there isn't really much else at the tight end position. Isaiah Likely is back making his debut, but it's not Lamar, it's Cooper Rush. Tommy Tremble got a touchdown catch last week. He has Miami. There's still no Jatavian Sanders.
Mason Taylor, I think, is worth maybe a look here. Dallas doesn't rank particularly high in DVOA coverage against the tight end position. And Mason Taylor could see himself like 7-8 targets in this game. They don't have any other pass catchers here. Again, I know you don't like relying on Justin Fields to throw the football, but if Dallas isn't covering the tight end, or properly, I think Mason Taylor definitely gets some look here.
Yeah, I picked up Mason Taylor in a league this week, and I was actually having another conversation with a different buddy of mine, and he was like, "Oh, a lot of those yards from Taylor were garbage time. Like, they were driving down the field, they were down 2 scores." I was like, "Okay, like, sure, the Jets are going to be down."
Definitely true. That's definitely true. But I mean, what are we looking at?
It still counts, like.
Are you saying in a competitive game that Mason Taylor isn't going to get targets? Like, where are those targets going?
Yeah,
are they going to Josh Reynolds? Are they going to Arian Smith?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I'm fine. The Jets are going to be down in a lot of games this year. That means there's going to be opportunities for them to throw against soft zones and prevent defenses, and Mason Taylor's just going to catch 10-yard pass after 10-yard pass. Where do I sign? So I'm good with that call there as well. And again, there's really nothing else I don't think at the tight end spot, unless there's something you want to shout out to there.
No, John, I don't want to shout anything else out.
Let's go to defenses. Lions are $3,500. They get Cincinnati. They're on the road. Arizona's the home. Most expensive defense at $3,600 here. I like the Chargers at $3K. I think they're a pretty good spot against Washington.
Yep, Chargers at $3K are probably in a good spot here as well. I always look down to the dirt bottom there, right? I think the Saints defense could be a sneaky play here, only because if you don't believe in the deliciousness that is Jackson Dart.
Yeah. Well, the one thing we talk a lot about, though, when it comes to mobile quarterbacks is, if they aren't throwing a ton, it's hard to get the turnovers. You really need fumbles and sacks. Okay. And you don't always get the sacks when they're running, because they just get back to the line of scrimmage. So
okay, I can take that. What about the Texans against Cooper Rush?
I could bite into that. Again, obviously we do expect Henry to have a bigger workload, but as you've pointed out, he's been fumbling a lot. And if Cooper Rush does have to throw the football, there's turnover upside. And Houston's defense is pretty good. Their offensive line is atrocious, but the front seven for them, Stingley in the backfield, in the secondary, pretty good. I like that. $2,400 for Houston. I wish they were home, but they'd probably be more expensive if they were home. So
there's good stuff there at the very bottom, and there's great stuff there up at the top, and all of the stuff in the middle goes to the Chargers.
Yeah, I would agree with you. All right, let's get our core lineup build, and then we'll throw the full lineup in the Discord as we usually do here. Where do we want to go with quarterback?
I don't know. Let's start with let's get a little funky here, John. Let's start with Darren Waller as our tight end, because you seem very bullish on him.
I think two guys that we liked together. Well, we had Waller. We also liked Marvin Harrison Jr. together.
Yes, we did.
You like the value of Tolbert, which I'm good with, to get some cheap play in here. So that's.
I think Rico Dowdle gets some play at 4,300.
Okay. Rico, and then I said Taylor was my number one, but do you which Lion do you want to play? Because you also mentioned Montgomery, there's Amon-Ra St. Brown, there's Gibbs,
well, I mean, if we use Taylor here, we could probably also, since we're using Tolbert and Waller and Dowdle, I think we can get Taylor and what's his face and Jahmyr Gibbs in there also in the flex.
Gibbs is a flex, okay. 5,800. Obviously, that's for a defense, which if we just did Chargers per se, 7,250 for a quarterback and a wide receiver. I mean, we weren't spending $7K for a quarterback, which pretty much means we're locking in a top wide receiver here. If we just go mid range,
go to Herbert. We talked about using a naked Herbert in this one, or you could go to Fields if you want. He's a little further down there.
Yeah, I was gonna say if we did the stack, you do Kyler with Harrison. I mean,
definitely. It gives you any wide receiver you want
with money to spare, $800 to spare, basically. So, we'll give you guys some opportunities. You could spend up at defense if you wanted to. You could obviously adjust if you don't want to go with a Tolbert or Harrison. Obviously, you'll have some extra cash to play around with. But just to give you guys some examples, just a little core here, $7,300 a play. Some opportunities this week. There's so much value on the board. One of these values are going to go off and they're going to break the slate. So That's the way it's going to be.
That's the way it is.
All right, guys. We'll have the full playbook and dartboard and example lineups out this weekend. Obviously, playbook and dartboard on Saturday, example lineups on Sunday. Bender and Coop on SiriusXM from 10 to 11. Myself and Coop 11 to noon on the YouTube channel to get you guys ready for NFL Week 5. Good luck. We'll catch you later.